Imagine this. If a massive chunk of the Earth suddenly broke off and plunged into the ocean, and waves 100 feet high swallowed entire cities within moments, or if a supervolcano erupted with a deafening blast, causing the planet's temperature to drop suddenly, pushing us into a new ice age, or maybe a terrifying giant that has been sleeping under the ice for centuries suddenly awakens, and its heat throws the balance of the entire world into chaos. This isn't the plot of a movie or a work of fiction. These are real natural threats that could wipe out humanity in the blink of an eye. Welcome we as the winning mind. Viewers, today we'll talk about the four sleeping giants of Earth, the dormant disasters that appear calm, but hold unimaginable power within. Experts say their awakening is only a matter of time. The question isn't if they'll happen, but when. So let's begin with the first one, the Doomsday Glacier, scientifically known as the Thwaites Glacier. But why do scientists call it the Doomsday Glacier? You'll find out in just a few moments. We all know that sea levels around the world are rising every year, but how far can this rise actually go? And how much time do we have left to prepare? The answer to all of this, viewers, depends on the Doomsday Glacier itself. Located in West Antarctica, this glacier is more than a kilometer deep in several places, about as tall as the Burj Khalifa, if you flipped it upside down. This frozen giant stretches over 120 kilometers, making it the widest glacier on Earth. To give you an idea of its scale, it covers an area of 192,000 square kilometers, large enough to fit 318 Mumbais or 50 Karachis inside it. For decades, this glacier has been melting faster than any other in Antarctica, and it has already caused about 4% of the global sea level rise so far. But the most alarming part is its location. Thwaites Glacier is part of the West Antarctic ice sheet, and if it collapses, it could trigger the melting of the entire ice sheet. Scientists estimate that if that happens, global sea levels could rise by as much as 10 feet, a moment that, viewers, would truly mark a doomsday for humanity. That's why the Thwaites Glacier is considered one of the most dangerous ice regions in the world. It sits right in the middle of West Antarctica, and according to experts, the stability of the entire region depends on it. If it can't be stopped, it could send all of West Antarctica sliding into the ocean, and cities like New York, Mumbai, Jakarta, Bangkok, and Dhaka would be among the first to face the devastating impact. If the Thwaites Glacier were to melt completely, sea levels could rise by nearly 3 meters, high enough to submerge dozens of coastal cities around the world. In such a situation, governments would have no choice but to immediately evacuate millions of people from these cities. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, over 1 billion people currently live in regions that are already near the danger threshold. If such a massive population were suddenly forced to migrate to higher ground, it would severely disrupt the global economy. And that's not all. This would also trigger a chain reaction of climate storms, hurricanes, tsunamis, and devastating floods, turning them into a new normal. Now let's move to another sleeping giant, the Yellowstone Supervolcano. This volcano lies hidden inside the Yellowstone National Park, in the US state of Wyoming. But this isn't just any ordinary mountain that erupts occasionally. It's a supervolcano, and beneath its surface lies an enormous reservoir of magma, building up immense pressure within the Earth's crust. If this giant ever awakens, its effects won't be limited to the United States. They'll engulf the entire planet. Yellowstone sits inside what's known as a caldera, a massive crater formed by past catastrophic eruptions. It spans about 70 kilometers in length and 50 kilometers in width. Experts say this supervolcano erupts roughly once every 600,000 to 700,000 years. The last time it erupted was about 640,000 years ago, and the 3 previous eruptions of similar scale reshaped the entire planet. If this pattern continues, it could erupt again within the next 60,000 years, which, in geological terms, is not that far away. When it does, everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius would be obliterated. Clouds of volcanic ash and toxic gases like sulfur dioxide would block sunlight, casting the world into a chilling darkness, a phenomenon scientists call a volcanic winter. Global temperatures would plummet, crops would fail, and food shortages would sweep across the planet. Those who survived would face acid rain, toxic air, and deadly respiratory diseases. Reports suggest that if Yellowstone were to erupt today, it could wipe out up to 70% of the world's population. In other words, this wouldn't just be a national disaster. It would be a test for all of humanity. Now it's time for the third catastrophe, the Cumbre Vieja volcano. About 700 miles off the northwest coast of Africa lie Spain's Canary Islands, home to a stunning yet perilous island, La Palma. This island was formed nearly 4 million years ago after a powerful eruption from the Cumbre Vieja volcano. And interestingly, This volcano is still active today. Over the past few decades, its repeated eruptions have created a fault line across the island. A visible crack so large, it can be seen clearly from Google Earth. This fault line sits about 6,000 feet above sea level. Experts warn that if another major volcanic event weakens it further, a massive portion of the island could collapse into the ocean at any moment. Geologists predict that if this happens, around 500 billion tons of rock could slide into the sea at a speed of 250 kilometers per hour. This colossal landslide would be so powerful that it could cause the ocean to rise a full kilometer upward, instantly triggering a new and terrifying chain reaction, a mega tsunami. These waves would radiate outward across the Atlantic Ocean for nearly 4,000 miles, devastating coastlines in Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Waves as tall as 100 feet would crash not just onto beaches, but deep into cities, creating scenes straight out of the apocalypse. Cumbre Vieja is, in essence, a ticking time bomb, one that could explode at any moment, and if it does, its impact won't be limited to the Canary Islands. The entire world will feel its fury. That's because the island's slope tilts westward, directly toward the Atlantic Ocean. Now, let's turn to another silent yet deadly threat. Something scientists call permafrost. Nearly 11% of Earth's land surface is made up of permafrost, frozen ground that remains below 0 degrees C all year. Ground it's found mostly in polar regions, covering half of Canada, 2/3 of Russia, and large parts of Tibet. For millions of years, this icy layer of Earth has remained frozen and undisturbed. But now climate change is changing everything. At the surface of permafrost lies an active layer. It freezes in winter and thaws slightly in summer. Beneath it is a permanently frozen layer that acts as Earth's natural deep freezer. For centuries, trees, plants, animals, and even microorganisms have been buried in this frozen soil, perfectly preserved, their decomposition process never even beginning. But today, each year, the upper layer of permafrost is melting deeper and faster than before. With this thaw, thousands of years-old animal bodies are emerging from the ice, exactly as they were when they died. As the ground melts, the organic material trapped inside begins to decompose under the action of bacteria, releasing methane gas and a greenhouse gas far more dangerous than carbon dioxide. Experts say that the total amount of carbon currently in our atmosphere is just a fraction of what's still locked beneath the permafrost. Nearly 4 times more carbon remains trapped underground, and it's slowly escaping into the air. As this massive release of greenhouse gases continues, Earth's average temperature could rise by up to 8 degrees Celsius. Glaciers would begin to melt rapidly, and freshwater reserves would face a severe crisis. Sea levels could rise by as much as 5 meters, and regions near the equator could become uninhabitable for humans. Many believe that permafrost melting is a distant threat, but in reality, the disaster has already begun. Scientists warn that if this trend continues, up to 70% of the world's permafrost could disappear within the next 50 to 70 years. And the most alarming truth is, even if we stop using fossil fuels today, the melting of permafrost has already reached a point of no return.